Wow, nice haul.
Told ya, Macy's Backstage has perfect last-minute gifts.
With prices so low, you never need a coupon.
I scored the perfect makeup palette.
Super cute. I grabbed these cool drones for the guys.
Nice. Here's a handbag for Aunt Helen.
Found awesome toys for the kids.
Cookware for the budding chef.
Oh, and look what I got for Uncle Hank.
A puppy chew toy?
No, that's for Rex. They even have gifts for pets.
Well, you know Uncle Hank. He'd love anything we gave him.
Macy's Backstage. Savings for everyday life. Details at macy'sbackstage.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Nonprofit U, a forum where nonprofit stakeholders can share lessons learned and discuss the latest developments in the industry. My name is Valerie, Leonard, your host. I'm a consultant to nonprofits, and I specialize in community and organizational development. I work with nonprofit organizations to help them make a stronger impact to their clients and communities. And you can find Nonprofit U on Facebook and on Twitter. I encourage you to follow us and to comment early and often using the hashtags NonprofitU, Preserving South Chicago, or Alliance of the Southeast. You can also leave comments on blogtalkradio.com/nonprofit_U. The chat room is open, and you can post comments and questions. In order to use the chat room, you must open a listener-only account. You'll find a link to open the account on the page for this episode, and you can also email me questions at consulting@valeriefleonard.com. We'll be taking questions by phone and from our chat room at about the 20-minute mark or so. The call-in number is area code 347-884-8121. Again, that number is area code 347-884-8121. Serving the southeast of Chicago. We'll be talking about the Alliance of Southeast and some of their latest campaigns. Again, we encourage you to call in with questions at about the 20-minute mark. You can start posting in the chat room and emailing questions now. Again, my email address is consulting@valeriefleonard.com. If you want to participate in the live chat, you must open an account, and the link is found on the episode page. The call-in number again is 347-884-8121. Nonprofit and community development professionals are especially encouraged to call in and share your stories and strategies. And, in fact, I'm sure some of you have very interesting war stories. Today's guest is Amalia NietoGomez. She is the Executive Director of the Alliance of the Southeast. In this capacity, Amalia coordinates the coalition of local organizations to get a community benefits agreement, which is a written agreement with the developer, and she's doing that for the Southworks project. That's the largest development in the region to prioritize local residents for jobs, training, and educational opportunities, affordable housing, environmental protections, and the list goes on. Amalia also organizes Germano Millgate tenants to address health and safety issues, and they've had a number of campaigns, and as a result of their work, they have had the completion of over 1,000 repairs and over a 45% reduction in pest-related asthma triggers, and an agreement by the owner to use $4.5 million in HUD funds to address the top 5 tenant-identified priorities for repairs. And by the way, Amalia, just want to let you know this is a great anti-gentrification strategy. Amalia has also organized youth leaders to hold their first annual anti-violence march, and then under her leadership, has also expanded an alternative sentencing program with the Cook County Juvenile Court, as well as worked with partners in an initiative called GRACE, and they also have referrals from the 4th District Police Department. Under Amalia's leadership, ASE has united local service providers, community groups, and ceasefire to establish local nonviolent zones, and that was in the years 2013 and 2014. And as a result, the coalition has produced a community event to bring together over 400 African American and Latino residents. 8 organizations became safe havens in places where a child can take shelter or request assistance. And you guys, to Liberty, I believe you're under 40, Amalia. Is that true?
Yes. No, not by much, but yes.
Right, she's under 40. And this is just a very short list of some of the things she's been able to accomplish. And this is just in her current job. This is not her life story. So, we're dealing with a dynamo here, and I'm really honored. So, Amalia, thank you so much for joining us. And before we get started,
Valerie.
Can you tell us a little bit about ASE and how you came to work for them?
Sure. Well, the ASE, or the Alliance of the Southeast, is a local community organization, nonprofit, and we work to build community leaders on the Southeast side that are able to tackle issues that they identify and create the solutions for the neighborhood. We're a coalition of businesses, schools, churches, nonprofits, organizations are all coming together to address the challenges of the neighborhoods on the Southeast side. I came to work at ASE. I came to Chicago originally to do community organizing work and ran a campaign against predatory lending, or all the bad loans that cause the housing bubble and that burst. So we were trying to prevent that from happening here in Illinois. And after working for 5 years on that, I went to work at a community bank to get good loans out to the neighborhood, especially the immigrant neighborhood. Worked on I-10 loans. And while I was there, I really missed having the connections to the community. So one of a mutual friend had introduced me to the then executive director, Ray Lopez Calderon, and I became involved with the board. And so I was part of the board for a number of years, and then when Ray decided that he wanted to go move on, they asked if I would like to become a part of ASE and apply for the executive director position. Make a long story short. So I took over after the interim director between Ray, and then there's an interim director, and I've been at ASE ever since. So going on 4 years, I guess.
Wow, that's awesome. And ASE is in good hands. You and I met. I just want to let folks know, Amalia and I met about 4 or 5 months ago. She came to North Lawndale to share with us lessons learned on their discussions, around CBA's, Community Benefits Agreement. And as a matter of fact, she is now working with ASE and the coalition of folks on the Southeast side on the $4 billion redevelopment of the U.S. Steel Southwork site. And that is one of the largest sites, I guess, that's undeveloped in the city of Chicago. And it's a 600-acre site and has the capability to bring massive economic development to Southeast Chicago, as well as restore the region's economic stability with employment opportunities, affordable housing, and increased revenue. Sounds like a little city within a city. And in an effort to get the Southeast region prepared for the development, ASE coordinates the Coalition for Southworks. And that's a coalition of community organizations, schools, churches, block clubs that are working together to get a community benefits agreement, or CBA. Can you tell us what a CBA is and some of the benefits that you guys are trying to negotiate?
Sure. A community benefits agreement, or CBA, is a written legal document that is a partnership or agreement between the community and the developer. And it's similar to, for those of you who know, it's similar to a project labor agreement, where that's between the unions and the developer, outlining how many apprenticeships they're going to have, how many journeymen they're going to have, what their commitments are for hires and things like that. So this is rather similar, but it's with the developer and the community instead of the developer and the union. And it's really important just to have commitments from both parties in writing and on the table that both parties, both the developer and the community, can hold each other accountable to.
Okay. That's great because I think typically – okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying typically when we think of those agreements, developers tend to look at the community as, they're demanding this, that, and the other, but it's really something that holds the community accountable as well, right? It's not just a unilateral, the community asks and then the developer gives. There's give and take on both sides. Is that correct?
Right. So the idea is that, for example, if there's an agreement for, say, local hires, the developer may say, okay, we're going to have, our goal is to have this percentage local hires, whatever that may be. And then the community says, okay, in order for you to meet your commitments, we commit to providing X number of referrals so that, you can meet your goal. So it's a collaboration. And the idea is that even once the community benefits agreement is signed, that there's still ongoing partnership to make sure that the goals are reached. So it's not just it's not just something we're like, okay, you didn't meet this goal. There's like, okay, let's see, where did things go wrong, right? Do we need to give you more referrals? Do you need more qualified referrals? Like, okay, what are some of the barriers to hiring them locally? So that the CBA basically is a partnership and a continuing conversation about the commitments that were outlined in the CBA.
Oh, okay, great. So Chicago residents have been painfully aware of increased violence on the streets. Can you share some of the ways that ASE is addressing the violence issue?
Sure. So ASE had started convening local groups in the neighborhood, especially because a number of years back there were a number of break-ins to cars along 91st Street and Commercial Avenue. And so we started having conversations and pulling together the businesses in the area and community residents in the area to talk about, okay, stopping the break-ins are going on, but longer term, like how can we engage youth in particular? And so the group became united to talk about some of the issues around violence and like how can we stop sending our youth and young adults into prison. And so what came out of those conversations was the Youth Leadership Council, which was an active way to engage youth in the neighborhood in a proactive way and to organize the youth the same way we organize adults. So the youth talk about the issues are of great concern to them, and we help them strategize around the solutions they want to see happen. So there's a Youth Leadership Council. There was GRACE, the groups responding with another chance in education, which was a restorative justice and mentoring component. So that was for youth that had already gotten into trouble for something, being able to have a safe space and open dialogue about what happened. That's a peace circle and restorative justice part of it, but also to connect them with a mentor who would be able to reconnect the youth back to the community and also resources. So in developing a personal relationship with the youth. And then the third thing was engaging residents at Germano Millgate to talk about what was going on in the community especially because there's a lot of violence, not necessarily within Germano, but that was going around near and around Germano that we thought would be of concern. So those were kind of the three things that came out of the conversations about how do we deal with violence.
Oh, that's awesome. So you talked about the Youth Leadership Council. Can you share with us some of the strides and advancements that you guys have made since you started the council?
Sure. So the Youth Leadership Council actually was started before I came on board in about 2012. And it's a group of youth from ages 11 or 12 to 17 that are talking about the issues in their neighborhood. And they have decided that one of the key issues that they want to work on was the issue of violence and how to address it. So for the last 3 years, they have held a anti-violence and anti-bullying event. It's been a march and rally where they have planned out all the how that day would look. And so they've done it for the last 3 years. They have linked it in with the National Day Without Hate, which is a national youth-led day for peace that started with the Columbine and Virginia Tech shootings. And so the youth were talking about doing a march. The first year they were talking about doing a march to kind of take back the neighborhoods. And coincidentally, the Day Without Hate was going to be held about a month from when we had the conversation when the youth decided to do this. So we decided to tie it in. And so they've been doing this for the last 3 years. This past year, they have also been talking about and doing research about different ways to address violence. So they have talked about doing SB 100, implementing it. It's a law that already passed, and it provides alternatives to detentions and suspensions. They have also talked about being Peace Circle trained. Again, that's where you hold safe spaces to have dialogue and talk about conflict. And then they have also talked about having a peace event. So I don't know if it'll be still linked to the Day Without Hate or something separate, but I know that they have talked about doing peace events.
Okay, that's awesome. Sounds like you've identified the next generation of leaders.
We hope so. But I have to say it's more than us just identify it. I gotta give kudos to the students for stepping up because, if they didn't step up, this wouldn't have happened. So they've taken on a lot of initiative to make these things happen and to move the issues that they think are important.
Awesome. Okay, I want to remind our listening audience that you're listening to Nonprofit U, and we're speaking with Amalia NietoGomez. She's the Executive Director of the Alliance of the Southeast, or ASE. We will take questions from our listening audience in the chat room at about the 20-minute mark, so we're probably looking at 3 more minutes now. The call-in number is 347-884-8121. Again, that call-in number is 347-884-8121. So our communities are facing an epidemic of youth incarceration and recidivism. So there's basically a revolving door, kids coming in and out of the juvenile detention center. And too many of our young people are growing up in a climate of violence without economic opportunities. They don't have sufficient numbers of community mentors and the training that they need to thrive and grow. So in response to this crisis, ASE has developed the GRACE initiative, which you've already touched on, and you're doing this in partnership with the 4th Police District. Can you share with us an overview of the initiative and some of your accomplishments?
Sure. So I have to also say we are also in partnership with the Cook County Juvenile Probation and Diversion Departments to make this program work, and we have several partners that we are also working with. But basically, this is a community initiative to reengage youth both at risk, that have been identified at risk by some of our partners or have even self-identified. Or we also have referrals from the probation and diversion departments, youth that have already are court involved. And the idea is to place them with a mentor that will be able to personally connect with them, but also connect them with additional resources. The idea is that they are linked with one of our partners. Right now we have the Alliance of Southeast is a host, Clarisha Associates, Sky Art, and the 10th Ward Alderwoman Garza's office have all agreed to be hosts for youth. And the youth not only receive mentoring, but they also have responsibilities at their placement, which are their own. So we usually sit down and talk with the youth about what they would like to do and try to create a plan that gets them involved in the organization that they're at with their own role and responsibilities, but at the same time they're receiving mentoring, one-on-one mentoring from the partnering organization or someone at the partnering organization.
No, that's awesome. That is really awesome.
So right now we're still, I was just going to say right now we're still trying to expand the program, but it is our hope that at one point we become a restorative justice hub where we can take in a lot of youth for this program.
Okay, great. I want to remind our listening audience that you're listening to Nonprofit U, and we're speaking with Amalia NietoGomez. She's the Executive Director of ASE, or Alliance of the Southeast. We'll be taking questions from our listening audience right now. The call-in number is 347-884-8121. Again, that number is 347-884-8121. I do see that we've had one caller who has been listening since the beginning. He or she may or may not want to ask a question or add a comment. I am going to check with you now. Your number is 773-624-0585, and I am going to check with you and see if you're interested in making a comment. Okay, caller, did you want to make a comment, or were you just listening?
Just listening. I figure there's probably more to be said, so I'm listening.
Okay, great.
It's very interesting.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. Your voice sounds familiar. Sounds like David Pendleton. Is this David?
Yeah, it is.
All right, thank you so much for calling.
I'm impressed that she's gotten from one end of town to another, and she has experience that kind of maps out the scope of the country. But other than congratulating her on good work, I think there's more to be said.
Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. All right, thank you so much, David. Amalia. Okay.
Yes.
Amalia, back to you. Okay, I noticed that you guys have been working with Germano Millgate residents to address health and safety issues over the last 2 years. I'm just curious, what specific health issues are you tackling, and what are some of the strategies?
Well, we have been working with management and the owners to address some of the conditions within the apartment. And so because of our organizing efforts, we have been able to get a commitment from the owner to use, he received funds, national funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to address the top 5 issues that tenants have identified. So we've been working with tenants for the last 3 years to address some of the conditions within the apartment, and we are looking forward to the improvements that are hopefully soon to be taking place.
Okay, and I'm just curious, how did you guys start organizing the tenants? Is that something that the tenants brought to you, or you reached out to the tenants?
Well, it it started with a conversation. Actually, is when back when we were working on our safe zone, and one of the tenants was helping pass out flyers to inform residents of the area where the safe zone was taking place. And she and I started a conversation, and one thing led to another, and we were talking about the apartments. And so I had talked to her saying, "Oh, okay, is that your experience, or is that a collective experience? Is that something other folks are have identified as well?" And she said, "No, we've all been trying to deal with it, but haven't been successful individually." And so we got, as most of our organizing campaigns, we got a group of folks together that were all interested in the same solutions, and ASE worked with them to develop a strategy on how to get that. So in this case, what worked was having tenants meetings where it wasn't just one person going in with one individual issue. It was a number of tenants saying, okay, these are our top 5 issues right now, and then talking with management about it. And so that was after the first meeting, within 4 months, because the meeting was in September, and then within 4 months by December, about 1,000 repairs had taken place.
Wow.
Yeah,
that
was our first 4 months. Right. And so now things have progressed and moved on. So now there's funding that's been available to address some of the requests for repairs, and so that's what we are working with management and the owner to address.
Oh, okay. And the repairs are funded in part by HUD?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's great. So what were some of the lessons that you've learned along the way?
I think that there's power in numbers. And I know that's very cliche, but it is true. And I think having a common vision or common goal is extremely helpful. And I'm very excited about all the work that we have been doing with. I'm always so impressed with the people that I work with, both staff and leaders, to make all these things happen, because none of this would have happened without any group effort. So I think there's power in numbers, and sharing common vision, common goal, and just making sure that everyone's clear about what it is that we're all working towards. So.
What are some of those lessons you would not want to repeat?
Well, I think there's always lessons that you learn something from. I think one of the things is just making sure that we have a united front, and that there's clear communication, and that there's a process for when disagreements happen. And I say this not only with my experience with ASE, but just organizing experience in general. I think those are some of the key things that I've learned, that, try and keep a group together, just making sure that we all know why we're in it, So.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I just had a conversation on Friday, and I think all too often we kind of look at issues of an organization or established organization as being something that's unique to that organization, and we don't necessarily transfer those same lessons to a campaign, where you're coming together for a very specific reason. And it's interesting that the lessons that you share can easily be transferred either to a temporary campaign or to a permanent organization. So I really appreciate, the lessons that you shared.
Yeah, I think they're universal lessons, and I think, for successful campaigns, they've always had, common vision, common goal. Everyone knows why they're there and where they're going, and, I think just making sure that we have a united front, no side deals, because that cuts the power of the group and everyone individually. So I think just making sure that we're united as a group, because we could get so much more.
Right. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Mhm. I agree.
Okay, so I want to remind our listening audience one more time that you're listening to Nonprofit View, and we're speaking with Amalia NietoGomez, the Executive Director of ASE. And before we go, we just want to open up for questions one more time. We're at 347-884-8121. Again, 347-884-8121. And those of you in the chat room are more than welcome to post a question. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions. I'm going to ask David one more time. Okay, David, I have you live now. Did you have any questions or comments now that you've heard our conversation more?
No, not really. Other than where are they located?
We're located on the southeast side, 9204 South Commercial Avenue, Suite 301. We're on the corner of Commercial and 92nd.
Okay. Well, I do have one question. How long before they are concrete on that property or that U.S. Steel property? When are they really going to know?
Well, the decision on who is going to be the developer has already been made. That's Barcelona Housing Systems.
Right.
As far, we are waiting for them to sign the paperwork, and we think that should happen by the end of next month is kind of our best guess. And then once the agreement is signed, we know that they will be moving quickly to get the development started, because what's different is that this developer will actually own the land. So they will have an incentive to get it up and running as soon as possible.
Right, because the renderings are
really
really
nice. But we look forward to, what's that?
The renderings are really nice. I've seen the drawings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about it because the developer has reached out and has committed to community engagement. So we're very excited about a potential partnership with them.
Okay. Thank you again.
Right,
sure.
Thank you. And before we go, Amalia, I just want to get a sense for who some of your partners on the South Side are, that you're working with on that particular issue.
Sure. So we have a coalition for a Southwark CBA. We have more than 40 organizational members that are part of that coalition. That coalition spans from the south part of Hyde Park all the way to city limits and as far west as Chatham. We cover the 6 zip codes that are closest to the site and includes the 7th, 10th, 5th, and 8th wards. But it's a mixture of community groups, trainers, schools, businesses, nonprofits, students. It's a mix.
Oh, that's huge. It goes from Hyde Park all the way to city limits on the south, it sounds like.
Right. All the way to South Deering, Hegwish.
Wow. Okay. So we've come to the end of our show, and I thank you again, Amalia. You've been a great guest. Would you care to share any parting thoughts and tell our listening audience how they can get involved in this work?
Sure. Well, thank you, Valerie, for having me on the show. This is very exciting. And if you want to get involved, you can always contact our organization at 773-221-8908. Again, that number is 773-221-8908. We also have a site for more information about any of our campaigns. That is www.asechicago.org. Again, www.asechicago.org.
Okay, great. And I also noticed that you guys are selected with Amazon.com as one of their charities of choice. Can you tell us how one might donate to ASE through Amazon.com?
Sure. For 1%, I think it's 1%. Profits, if you purchase from Amazon, you just need to go to Amazon Smile. It's the same as Amazon. It's just the donations made through there will go to nonprofits. And if you go to smile.amazon.com and donate to the Alianza Leadership Institute, that's our legal name, then any donations, anytime you purchase on Amazon, we will have a donation, a small donation that gets donated to us.
Okay, great. So you register, is that correct? You register and then
yes. So once you identify the charity that you'd like to donate to on Amazon Smile, then every time you make a purchase, it will go through to that charity.
Okay, great. Well,
thank you, Valerie.
So much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be on. This is my first podcast. I'm very excited.
You did great. You did great.
Thank you.
So I want to thank our listening audience for listening to Nonprofit U Blog Radio Talk Show today. The show will be available for download within about an hour. Be sure to tune in next week for a discussion on program evaluation and performance management. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Wow, nice haul.
Told ya, Macy's Backstage has perfect last-minute gifts.
With prices so low, you never need a coupon.
I scored the perfect makeup palette.
Super cute. I grabbed these cool drones for the guys.
Nice. Here's a handbag for Aunt Helen.
Found awesome toys for the kids.
Cookware for the budding chef.
Oh, and look what I got for Uncle Hank.
A puppy chew toy?
No, that's for Rex. They even have gifts for pets.
Well, you know Uncle Hank. He'd love anything we gave him.
Macy's Backstage, savings for everyday life. Details at macysbackstage.com.